My biggest takeaway podcast.
Brian, man, thank you so much for coming to the show today. I've known you through a mutual friend, Mr. Sean Vasquez with Pride Foods, and he's told me a lot about your journey. And we've had the pleasure of speaking on some business points in the past. But man, thank you for coming today.
Hey, Mike, appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. So you're in Jersey. You born and raised in Jersey?
Yeah, I was born in the northern part of the state, North Jersey.
Okay, so we're Taylor Ham.
Yeah, we were Taylor hamming it. Now it's pork roll, but yeah.
All right, man. I used to live in Jersey City, so
Gotcha.
only those that know. But so what got you into the space you're in now?
Yeah, so the space that I'm in now is the supplement space, and what got me into that was actually while I was in college, I was playing football up in Montclair State, and I was actually working part time for a supplement store. So I'd learned a lot about the industry through that experience. But I also was very intuitive and just really enjoyed working out in the fitness side of things and the supplements and learning, what the ingredients do, how does it react to the body, so on and so forth. So like I was always like really intrigued by the industry, and that's kind of what led me down that path from working at gyms to working at that retail store. That's really what kickstarted the whole thing.
And what gave you the courage to start your first location and leaving that job?
Yeah, that was a little bit difficult. So when I was working for that job, there was a gap in between working there and then starting my own store. And in that meantime, I was working at LA Fitness. I was just saving money, not really doing anything too entrepreneurial like. And we got hit in New Jersey with Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy. And at that time, one of my best friends and I, that we played football together, we were living down in Belmar, and it was an old summer house that we ended up renting for the full year. And we ended up going to a local gym. That was the only thing that was open. They shut down everything. All the power was out. It was the only thing that was open was like this old school gym. And while we were leaving there after a workout, there was a vacant storefront next door. There was no sign. There was nothing. It didn't say for rent. And we just were kind of kicking around the idea, how cool would it be if there was a supplement store there? And I said, you know what? Yeah, that would be cool. It was just peeked my head in the window. The place was run down. It was super small. But long story short, I ended up finding out who owned that business, who owned that building, and asked them if he'd be willing to rent to us. And when I say, I'm so used to saying us because when you're in small business, you try to look a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Would he rent it to me because I was going in on it? And unfortunately, he said yes, he would. We got in there for a pretty low overhead cost, monthly expense, and I was able to just bootstrap from there.
Right on. And how long was it before you opened up your second location?
Yeah, so I probably had the first store for about 3 years. A lot of ups and downs, and more downs than ups, I would say. It
Oh,
was a really difficult journey, just being able to, with no business experience, start up a retail store nonetheless. And I think that's really where a lot of lessons were learned in that retail store. We were just filming over here, and I was saying the same thing. It's like you want things to accelerate all the time, but really the lessons are learned in those slow periods where it's like, no, you're there for a reason. You got to learn this lesson the hard way. And if it were accelerated, you would skip all the good stuff, like all the stuff that now enables me to be able to, open a store with my eyes closed or scale our online business or whatever it is. Like that's really where the lessons were learned, was in that. So I think it was about 3 years before, yeah, a little over 3 years before I was able to open up another store. And we were getting a lot of requests for a specific area that was about maybe 30 minutes from my original store, 25 minutes. And people kept saying, yeah, it'd be great here, great here. Long story short, I ended up opening that second location. Now, that was just as big of a leap of faith as it was signing the original lease, because now I was taking something that I built that took me so long, you know, it was so hard to build it to even get customers coming in, to now I'm going to pass it essentially to somebody else to try to build a new location. That was a really difficult decision. And like, uh, yeah, that was tough, but yeah, we were able to make that work. And I think I was mentioning too, like even when we got that second store up and running, there were still a ton of down days there too. I would, be sleeping in the back of the room, and customers would come in. I would hear them come in, and I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, I was just counting the inventory." there was no inventory back there. It was me laying on the floor. And it's a couple of the guys that work with me now, they remember those days. They remember coming in and like being like, "Yo, were you sleeping?" Like, no, I wasn't sleeping, as I'm like rubbing my eye.
All right.
But
No, I definitely understand that 100%. And so, Jersey Source Supplements, how many locations do you guys have now?
yeah, so we currently are at 5. We're in the process of opening a 6th location. We've had 6 in the past, and excuse me, we downsized a little bit when COVID hit. We
Mhm.
closed one of our locations. We were fortunate to keep all the others open, and now we're in the process of scaling back up. We're looking to press forward this upcoming year.
What was the biggest takeaway that you had from COVID with the
Um,
source?
yeah, I would say like the biggest takeaway for me was staying nimble, like staying light on your feet, creative, and like constructively thinking of um, how to overcome obstacles. Where I think it gave me more of that beginner's uh, mindset. When I first opened that business, I didn't know what I didn't know. So it kind of brought me back to that point of like, okay, you're going to have to relearn certain things. Um, and yeah, again, that was another good takeaway. We launched AstroFlav, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit with the story behind it, but we just launched the brand that we were going to deploy throughout all of our stores. We were going to, hit the ground running nationwide, and all of a sudden, things had different plans, and we were shut down for
Yeah.
however long it was.
I find it myself as a business owner, the creative of how do I make money is to me like the best place to be in. It's a high stress environment,
Yeah.
but I enjoy the creativity of like, what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? To me, I find the day to day task of maintaining or running is not as fun to me. And I think that's just really an entrepreneur creativity standpoint
Mhm.
versus, you got your A players that come in and help run the company, like the strategy of day in, day out operations. Do you find yourself more in the creative mindset and development and bigger picture, futuristic ideas, or do you find
Yes.
yourself to be a good at the operational side?
No, I'm terrible at the operational side. I'm fortunate to surround myself with good guys, uh, really, really smart men that are good on the operational side, and they know the importance of keeping me out of that as well. Not saying that I can't do it. Like I joke around and I discredit myself. I definitely could, but I'm more in the visionary seat. So that's what you were kind of alluding to was you're a visionary, Mike, and you need to surround yourself with strong integrators, somebody that's going to take those ideas and integrate it into fruition and bring it to life. And again, that's why I'm fortunate to surround myself with really good, hardworking men who believe in the bigger picture, that could see the vision with me, so that I could cast a vision and say, hey, listen, like this is what it's going to look like. And they buy into it to where they help me execute to get to that point. Um, Again, because I think there's a lot of people who have the visions, because that's the fun part, that's the easy part, but they lack the number 2 guys in their companies who are going to roll up their sleeves and they're going to bring it to light.
Who's the person that tells you that idea is shitty?
That you what?
Who's the person in your life that tells
Oh
you?
yeah, I got a couple people that are in my life. Do I need to say specific names?
No, I mean just
Mike
from
is
least
one of
like,
Mike is one of them. He'll tell me to a straight. I said you need people in your life who will tell you that your breath stinks because you can't smell your own breath. It's like you got to
yeah,
like have somebody that's like, brother, you need a fucking mint.
yeah. It's oftentimes that I think that the yes guys
Yeah.
are sometimes the demise or really the
Mhm.
limitation because the people that just say yes to everything you do because you're the boss,
Yeah.
those are the ones that end up making you lose money. I mean, it's not their fault essentially, but when they have a gut check and they're like, I don't know, but they just go along because you said it.
Yeah.
It's hard to
No,
find those people that'll stand up to the guy, like the man, and be like, I don't know about that, man. I don't think that's a good idea, Brian.
yeah, I have somebody else too. Like one of my best friends, Christian, that works with me. He's been with me since the original store. He actually helped me paint, and he would be in the store playing video games with me. We'd have to pause it when a customer would come in and be right back at it. We were always hanging out in the stores. He was in there so much that I ended up employing him and giving him a job. He's one of our top guys now to this day. Crushes it at what he does. He's just excellent at what he does, and he's still to this day somebody that if I bring him an idea and he's not feeling it, he'll give it to me straight, which I appreciate. And I'm not saying that I don't have others in my life that will do that too, but he does it in a way that kind of like lets you down nicely. Like he doesn't completely shit on your idea, but he's just like, yeah, I don't know. And he kind of let like a feather floating down.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's
Yeah.
good.
I have a good buddy of mine who's actually, I have to give all credit to like me being a true entrepreneur. We were roommates in college, and he said, Mike, he's like, you're an asshole, but I love you because of it. He was
Mm,
like, I call you with ideas all the time because like I think I have ideas. This guy has like 4 a day, and I think the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make is saying yes too much.
yeah.
Signing object syndrome. Well, I can make a penny here, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but how much am I going to lose by not focusing on this one little task? And he
Mike,
said, like, I
let
call
me
you
ask
with
you.
ideas, and like I know you're going to poke holes in it through and through, and it's because I don't want him to go down that same path, right? So I think it's good to have those people in the corner.
Let me ask you something though, Mike. Do you think that, because I've been going through that a lot lately too, with like jump and ship, and you see the next shiny object, and
Mhm.
I think again that's like the entrepreneurial mindset. I want to ask though, what amount of that is lack of persistence as well? Because sometimes I ask myself, like, do I not have the follow through to stick with this original idea that at one time was the best idea I ever had? Like we all have had those, and then it's like, okay, well then, am I just not being persistent enough? Do I not have enough faith behind the idea that I'm trying to bring to light? Am I not passionate enough? Like, where is the disconnect? Because I agree with you. It's like, but at some point I started asking myself and I started holding myself accountable, like more so as of recently. It's just like, all right, a couple of years ago, this was the greatest, idea going forward. And, but when did you quit? When did it stop becoming that? And I'm not saying that like it's all about persistence, because again, ideas change, people change, but
Yeah.
sometimes I start asking myself, are you just not being persistent enough? Because good things take time, like you just planted that seed, you got to water it, you got to get it sun, don't look for it to sprout fruit right away. I
Yeah,
don't.
I think that really kind of boils down to a few different things. How much time did we give it? How
Mhm.
much energy did we actually give it? How many resources did we put to it? I've had ideas that I run with for 90 days, and I'm like, just change directions.
Yeah.
Um, but oftentimes I find that the biggest mistakes that I will make, or I like to think that I used to make, and then fun because my person that gut checks me is Paula, my girlfriend. She'd be like, "Do you have time to do that?" And I'm
Mhm.
like, "It is a good idea, though." And she's like, "But can you give the time it needs?" And I'm like, "No." And she was like, "Then there's your answer."
Yeah.
Because it's like if because you only can give 100%,
Yeah.
period. And if you don't have the people in place to carry it on with at least 80% of the energy that you would give it,
Mhm.
it's going to run down the 50-50. And then it's like, so, okay, where's the energy going? And that
It's
actually is what happened a lot with me with coffee, is that I lost the passion for it.
Mhm.
I wasn't really like, it wasn't something that I wanted to continue to move forward. And my passion was going towards something else that I thought had less stress, better outcome. And I was like, okay, time to switch gears.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea. It depends on also, I think, the amount of income that we have to put into it.
Mm.
There's a big difference between service based and product based companies, right? Like your overhead for the stores is going to be way more essentially than the e-commerce, right?
Big time.
So if we put energy into the store, we got to see it through.
Mhm.
You can do something on the e-com side and be like 90 days, fizzle it out. If I didn't order a massive amount of inventory, I'm just going to give it a go on this certain
Yep.
SKU of a product, right?
Yep.
And so I think that's really also too like being smart with those decisions. I think also too testing the idea before I'm like jumping in the water full fledged. I mean, when we do a test run of a product versus a full fledged launch of a product,
Mhm.
um, and inside the service space on my side, for me to start something new doesn't take a lot of cash flow to take that idea to fruition. It's just more or less time or bring the people on it to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I would think that the biggest thing is dropping it because as an entrepreneur, we get bored. I think that's probably the number one reason why people stop something.
For
And when
sure.
you get bored, it's two things. I think the first thing is that you stop giving it the energy that it needs to continue to thrive and be successful because every idea has to have new renditions of that idea and constantly having that positive mindset on how we can create this thing. But if you lose that, your creativity goes away and you're not creating new things, it's going to fizzle out regardless, whether how much energy and effort you're putting into it. But I think that's a really good question. But I think the best entrepreneurs are the ones that say no more.
Yeah, I don't think there is
Yeah.
one answer. Like, there's no like one set response to that. I think you answered that really, really good, because I ask myself that, and sometimes I think the same thing. It's like, is all this effort going to good use? If I was putting the same effort in another business, another business model, would I be seeing that same effort at a 10x return? It's. I think that's always like the daily grind. And then also too, like, okay, well, am I just chasing the next shiny object, or
yeah? And also too, like, you're at a level now too, to where, and this is not necessarily something for a small business owner to super consider because they don't think that way. But what is the X return based on the energy and money put into it? If I can take this idea and it gives me, okay, great example. We all know protein is the most expensive product there is, right? It's going to cost the most to get started. I'm going to make the smallest margin versus pills pay the bills.
Yep.
But we know that the protein is going to be a staple that always stays. So it's a good investment, but I know it's not going to be my cash cow. And so it's like creating a bunch of different, right? Creating a bunch of different protein flavors hogs up a lot of cash flow. And so we got to be careful with what I'm spending in inventory on, my traditional standard reoccurring order, and then how much money, energy am I putting into the one that's going to give me that bump, right? Where I'm going to make more money off of, but probably going to sell total less units. And so you got to think, like, is the juice worth the squeeze on those items?
Yeah.
And I think, and the way I think is, like, a lot of people think right here, like in today, maybe next week. You throw me an idea, I'm going to look at it. Where am I looking at it? A 6 month and a year process? Is it actually going to be able to be a product that's sustainable, or is it a quick cash grab? It's a quick cash grab. Yeah. Then depending on now how much energy and effort's got to go in for me to make that buck. And so I think that's like a really big, as you start to get into business more, thinking in that way too, because you do have products that are loss leaders. Milk's a loss leader in a grocery store. You don't make any money on it, but that's why they put it in the back of the store. Candy's in the front because they make a good penny off of it.
Yep.
Right. And so, like, I know that's going to be a last minute grab. No one goes to the grocery store looking for candy. And so it's kind of thinking like what brings customers in and then what pays the bills.
Yeah.
And having to think in that concept and that mindset. So with AstroFlav, we've been doing that since 2020, right?
2019, we technically opened up the company, and then we got shut down not long after that, but with the whole COVID situation. Yep. But yeah, right around that time, 2020, 2019.
And what has, in your opinion, been the biggest difference between e-com and retail? Because we're talking complete opposites.
Yeah. The retail side of things actually comes way more naturally to me because it's person to person. I could look somebody in the eyes, I could shake their hand. Like I'm brought up in that manner of like showing respect that way, and body language says it all. And, that's the way that I like to relate to one another. So it's been difficult, I would say, to get our message out and to show what type of people we are internally at AstroFlav, externally. Like, how do we show that we genuinely care, that we hear you, that we see you, like that your best interest is at our heart? How do we get that message out without sounding cliche and without sounding like everybody else, the other guys, this, that, and the third? And I think the way that we've been able to establish that is just doing things that are a little bit unconventional with like our messaging and how we reach our customers and the care and support that we give them, to where you mentioned it earlier, where about that quick buck. And immediately I was thinking like, yeah, because they're not thinking of that lifetime value of that customer and what that person means. And I think the biggest difficulty for the online side of things is like meeting those people where they are, making those relationships, like getting people to touch the brand and then leaving that impact. Because in the store, we were very good with the retention as far as if customers were coming in, we would keep the majority of the customers that come into the shops because we treat them well. And then how do you replicate that on the online side? And I think that we've been doing a good job. again, it's always a learning curve. Like we're always trying to get better. Um, we're just looking for every single way, every advantage that we could get to just enhance our business model. But yeah, I think yeah, that's been like the most difficult part for sure. It's just like how do you get that voice out? How do you let people know you genuinely care, especially in our industry, right? Where it's like
Mhm.
everybody's after the next quick buck. How do you differentiate from that?
Yeah, it's the quick game versus the slow game.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's really and just to real quick, just to hit on it too. Like it's that delayed gratification. So you hit
Mhm.
on it earlier with saying how milk you don't make any money on milk, and it's the same with the protein side. And we started with protein, which is super unconventional. Like anybody starting a brand would say don't start with protein. We did it from the lens of what you were speaking through, where we thought the customer retention, if they're coming back to our brand, if you could get a protein that is good quality, tastes great, uh, the customer is going to come back to you time and time again, as opposed to a pre-workout or a pill product. Like they might try it and then it's on to the next one. They're
Mhm.
out the door. So we thought, okay, if we could just make a good tasting product, and they're always coming back to it month after month, then if we can introduce other products from there, then we'll be in the game. But that was like our thought process behind it, which again, it makes it even that much more difficult.
I just thought of this, but I think it makes sense to me because I look back at my journey right when I started lifting, like really trying to become a bodybuilder in my late teenage years. If it has calories, I was loyal. So like my meal
Well,
replacement
yeah,
or my carbs, my protein, like dude, I was like optimum nutrition,
yeah.
gold, gold
That's who I
standard.
was thinking. I was thinking that I was going to say optimum nutrition. I was going to say how many people recognize optimum nutrition, because of that protein being the staple product.
Yeah,
Almost everybody in the industry could recognize that bottle, whether they use it still to this day or not. It's because, and that was a protein based model where they did protein good. I don't necessarily stand behind the other stuff that they've done like with
I
their
couldn't
brand.
tell you anything else they have.
Me either. But that's why I was thinking like, all right, well, if you can make your protein stand out and then you actually have a good brand behind it, you can fill a lot of voids. And yeah, something that I would get input on is while being in store. Again, I'm the front line of defense, so I hear that and customers' complaints. I hear what they like, what they don't like, all their pain points, everything that they're telling me. Because again, I'm right there, meeting them face to face, looking them in their eyes, shaking their hands, so I could see, okay, well, this person likes the product, but they don't like the flavor, or vice versa. Then I could look at it and say, okay, well, actually, they'd be getting a better product if we increased it by X, Y, and Z and added this and that. So I was taking those pain points, excuse me, and then being able to go to one of our head manufacturers and be able to reverse engineer it and enhance the products. And then obviously too, not even to that manner, we're innovative on new ingredients coming out now.
Mhm.
Where in the past, that's how I kind of operated. I was fortunate to get linked up with somebody that came on our board, Brady Adamson, and he's been like just super super innovative. Everything that the guy touches is next level. So all of our products as of a little over a year ago have all been all new to the game.
I like that innovation. That's the way forward.
Yeah,
Um, it's I feel like in today's age, dude, it's like it's something new every like 3 months.
yeah, it's hard
New
to keep up with it.
sweetener, new pump agent, new this, new that. It's just like how do you keep up, right? Um, one of the things you said a minute ago that I find interesting, being on the sell side and marketing side, right? I would say marketing more than sales,
Mhm.
is that I talk to a lot of coaches every single day on sales calls, and most trainers, myself included, man, if I can just talk to them, I can sell
Mhm.
them. You can't do that online.
Yeah, it's
And so
difficult.
your superpower is now your kryptonite because the difference between a retail store and an online business is one's a salesman, one's a marketer.
Yeah,
Those are not the same thing.
and it drives me nuts too because you see a lot of uh,
Great marketing companies putting out bad products.
all the time, all the time, and it's really frustrating. Like and it's frustrating too in the position that we're both in. It's like you can't go out and you're not going to badmouth these companies, but it's fucked up. And sorry for cursing. It's messed up because they prey on the victims. Like they prey on the people that aren't educated, that don't know any better, and that's why we say like you could tell I'm getting fired up talking about this. I'm just passionate about it because I feel like I want to stick up. Like it's like the bully picking on the kid in lunchroom. Like I want to stick up for that kid and let him know, like, hey, you could sit with us. Like we're going to educate you. We're going to give you the top products, like top ingredients, everything that we have. And yeah, I get frustrated when I see these other companies that are just good at marketing, putting out bullshit products where they can't even look you in the face when they read the ingredient profile because they know it's subpar. But
Yeah,
you got me all fired up over here, Mike.
it's all good. It's all good. I've made a content before, and I said it is that I think the only way that we overcome obesity and where this country's going, right? The projections by by 2030, 7% of the population is going to be overweight. I mean, that's 7 out of 10 kids. Like that's tough. But the only way we do it is to outmarket McDonald's, big pharma, massive companies.
Yeah.
And so, as a person that teaches people how to market, that is a passion of mine because it's kind of one of those things to where everybody wins if I can get you to win.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I can get you to understand how to do all those things that you mentioned, how you can speak to the client, how you can speak, like meeting the lead where they're at, as you talked about. That's one of my big things I say is we got to meet the lead where they're at, not where we want them to be. I want you to be educated, but I got to get you there. How do I get you there? Because if I just start talking about ingredients, you have no idea. So I got to talk about the problems and why you would need the ingredients, right? So it's like sometimes just spit facts doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like the way to market is a big tip for those that are trying to market is that we want to talk about a lot of the preventatives, not just the benefits. People watch the news on TV, not church. It's like, this is how you get to heaven. Like, this is how you don't get to hell.
Yeah.
Whoa. Tell me how not to get there. Because I already know this side, right? How to lose weight, chicken, broccoli, exercise, boring. Like how to not get any fatter. Sign me up. I need to know that information. Okay, it's chicken, broccoli, and movement. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So it's like really just flipping it on it, like the coin on its head, and just trying to repitch it in a different way. But
yeah, that's something that we're trying to get better at for sure. Like, and that's a learning process. I think that's always evolving. It's like if everybody knew every ingredient that were in our products, our sales would double. Like at minimum, way more than double. I would say. It's how do you get that message out there without
sounding like Bill Nye.
like sounding like you're just trying to force products on people when like your best intention truly is for them. The problem is that this industry has had a lot of bad actors in it in the past that the consumer's best interest wasn't for them.
So I'll give you a piece of advice here, and anybody else that's listening when it comes to marketing a product. One of the things that I think works really well is what happens if I don't take this ingredient? What happens if I don't take that product? Because now you tell me why I need it versus just benefit. It's almost, I hate to use the word because it does tie to marketing, but fear mongering.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. But that makes people go, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
And it makes you listen into what's going in. So it's like finding ingredients, figuring out what they help you do. But if I don't do that, then what happens?
I like that.
So, for example, if you want to do like D3 or something with calcium, like if you don't do this, like this is the percentage or likelihood of you having X amount of fractures when you hit certain age, versus like this is just going to make your bones stronger.
Yeah.
But it's like going into like the statistics and facts. So basically adding in numbers and then the statement or the problem, and then you can roll into the solution of that. Because I often think too, when it comes to talking about supplements, a lot of the content that we want to put out isn't necessarily about the product, but it's like 3 ways to stay hydrated whenever you're traveling. That has nothing to do with my product. I do sell hydration product though, but here's the benefits on how you can not get bloated and how do you prevent jet lag. And it's like, oh, let me listen to that versus like buy hydration. It makes you stay hydrated.
Yeah.
So it's like talking about those pain points, and because I view things as I got this I forget his name out of a book, but it's a pyramid, and basically what it is, the bottom portion, 60% of people are not aware that they have a problem, and that's who you want to go after.
Yeah.
So 60% of people are not aware they have a problem. 20% of people are aware they have a problem, not looking for a solution. 17% of people are aware they have the problem, they're gathering information but not ready to buy, and then 3% of people are ready to buy, which is why your average website conversion for a good website is around 3%. And so if we put out ads that say buy my product, 3% of people that see it or might purchase that go to the website.
Mm-hmm.
Versus we talk off with those. We've all seen those really good ads where it's like, here's the problem, here's some other things to solve that, and then you click to learn more about it, and all of a sudden there's a product on the page.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the information and zero about the product. But if you do have this concern, here's a product that can help it. And that's essentially going the opposite of what we think. Promote my product. It's like, no, promote the problem.
Yeah.
And the product helps fix the problem.
Yep. I like that.
So AstroFlav, I gotta ask, which one do you enjoy more?
Protein flavor, or what are we talking here?
Which do you enjoy more? The supplement stores
or
the e-commerce brand?
So it's always back and forth. Like, I'm a little bit wishy-washy with that answer. I go through my moments where it's like, okay, I love AstroFlav. No, it's this. No, I love the shops. No, I love AstroFlav. The roots, like my grassroots, is person to person, like in store, being able to give that sales experience. So with the e-commerce side, it's difficult. Like I really struggle with that. Our team does a great job at being able to do everything that we can to make that connection. But I do like the in-store person to person feel. My pushback on the in-store, like if I was picking, is that I can't make a big enough impact because I can only get people who are coming in like
mile radius.
Yeah, in a smaller range. Like online, we're able to reach a lot wider, cast a lot wider net, and be able to impact a lot more lives. And that's truly what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to make people feel better and more confident in their own skin. There's no worse feeling than going to a pool or something and you don't want to take your shirt off and you feel like insecure about yourself. So we're just trying to get everybody to see the best in themselves, launch their untapped potential, and just be the person that they're meant to be.
How big are you on mental health?
Very big. Yeah, I'm very, very big. It's the older I get, the more I become more into it. And it's one of those, it's like, I wish I knew it sooner. I wish I was doing it sooner. Like I wish I was reading at an earlier age. I was just telling my guys here how I hated school when I was in school. I was a bad student, and I'm using air quotes because it didn't hold my attention. Like now I'm an avid reader. Like I genuinely enjoy reading. I wake up every morning, I'm meditating. I'm doing all my, mental health stuff, reading, pray every single morning. And it's, if you were to tell me this, however many years ago that I was in school, I would have laughed. Even in college, I guess towards college, I started feeling a little bit more towards that. But high school, elementary, like there was no way. I would have said, you're out of your mind. Like there's no way. And then I come to think of it, and it's like, it's a shame that there's so many people that the last book that they even read was in high school, when they were forced to. And there's a quote that says, there's no difference between a man who can't read and a man who doesn't read. And that resonates with me. It's like, okay, if you have that ability, and all this knowledge is free, and I get it, like people like watching YouTube and podcasts and stuff like that, but there's something about holding a physical book in your hands and being able to highlight. And this is coming from somebody that listens to podcasts on fucking 2.0. Like I was like an audiobook avid like listener, like, and I would just whiz through it. And I was like, I had to just slow it down a little bit and start cracking open, hardcover books and just get back to reading. And I started doing it just every day, setting myself, making sure like I was going to stick to it. And it's just become part of my routine. Now I genuinely look forward to it.
What are you currently reading?
The Magic of Thinking Big. Now I've read it plenty of times. I've read it before, and I just recently moved into a new house that I was really striving for a long time. It was something that
I've seen it on Instagram. It is absolutely stunning.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it was something that I really like. It really stretched me like outside of my comfort zone. And I speak about delayed gratification a lot because my wife and I, we owned a 1-bedroom condo for 4 years, had my first daughter there. Then we rented a 2-bedroom condo for about 4 years also. So, or 3 years. And then now we're finally in the house that we envisioned, that I was, manifesting all these years. I've walked through this house more times than the builder, probably, because before he even put it up, because I was, manifesting it, thinking of what it would feel like to be in here. So yeah, it's
What was the first time that you left the office, left work, left somewhere, and thought to yourself, I made it?
I haven't, like, that
You've
day
never
has.
once had this like gratitude of like I've
No, I have gratitude. Yeah, so I answered that incorrectly. Like, I'm always very grateful, and even if the thing that I'm most grateful for is my wife and my children, my family. Like, my parent. I'm fortunate my parents are still alive. Um, so I'm come from it, like, I've always been a risk taker, and having them in my corner, it's like my insurance policy. Like, I know that they'll support me, and it's a good feeling to have like a strong backbone like that with my wife,
yeah,
where I know, listen, if business doesn't work out, if this doesn't work out, like, she'll always support me. She'll always pick me up when I'm down. Cause there's been plenty of times where I come home, and I break down crying, or I'm angry and I'm ready to rip somebody's head off. And she's the first one to comfort me, to say, hey, listen, like, everything's going to be all right. Like, you made it this far, you'll figure it out. And what do you need me to do? And very, very fortunate to have like a strong partner in my life like that. But I haven't had like a moment where I'm just like, I've, I've made it, just because
I achieved
I'm
it.
always striving to get better. Like, and
Sure.
it's not even just business wise. It's like, as a man,
Mm.
I pray every morning to God. I say, help me become the best father, husband, and leader that I could be. Because I know that I have more in me. This is not. This is just scratching the surface. I can't see the end result. Like, I can't see the final chapter, or like where this is going, but I know it's somewhere impactful. And that's kind of just what I try to stick to, is like, be grateful for everything that I have, all the people around me. Like, the things is one thing, but I was even thinking this around Thanksgiving dinner, because we hosted it for the first year ever. And I don't even think I could get the words out. I was thinking it, though. It was, all the things are cool. The table's cool. Like, the house is great, blah, blah, blah. But what's really cool to me, and like what genuinely means the most to me, is the people that were at that table. And it was just like, it was my wife, her family, her mother. And it was just like, that's what's important to me. Like, I could have been doing that anywhere. It didn't have to be at this house. Like, at this house makes it nice, because I'm able to check it off my bucket list. But I'm like, all right, I'm cool. Like, and I think having that cool, like, carefree to an extent, attitude towards it, where like, I'm not, uh like, this is not chained to me. This isn't my identity. My identity is not locked to this house. Like,
Yeah,
my identity is not locked to my identity is who I am, and who I am as a man, and how do I come across, and to my brothers and sisters and all that. So
right on, dude. Um, out of all the people that have walked through the door at the store, at the shops,
mhm.
what's the biggest takeaway that somebody's taught you?
um that somebody has taught me. Yeah, it just always goes back to letting people know, like, that you see them, that you hear them. Like, I've made so many good connections in store that it's hard to pinpoint just one particular one. But just that, like, emotional bond that I form with a lot of customers and a lot of people that come into, where still to this day I'm still friends with them. Like, hug them when I see them. Um, yeah, it's just, I don't know if I have like one specific takeaway, other than just like letting people know, that's all anybody wants, right? And this better than anybody, because of the industry that you're in, and how smart you are. It's like, people just want to know that you hear and see them. They want to feel that, so give that to them. And something that we pride ourselves on at the retail stores, and AstroFlav as well, is, there's so many people that are going through hard times. There's so much adversity. There's so much, difficult times in people's lives. And never mind this year and all this stuff recently. I'm talking just generally speaking, always. And one of our things is like, we're confident enough in ourselves and strong enough in ourselves to where we could carry the burden of our own issues and theirs. And
Mhm.
that's really what we're destined to do. And who we feel that we are, and why we're here, is like, to be able to, listen, our lives aren't perfect. My life isn't great. I have my own issues. But when I go in the shops, or if I'm dealing with you on the AstroFlav side, customer service side, whatever it may be, like, you're never going to see that. You're going to see the best version of myself because I genuinely, truly care. And that's hard to fake. So that goes back to, like, if customers only knew what was in the products, they would buy from us. And then if customers only knew what was in my heart, they would buy from us. It's just a matter of getting the word out there and letting enough people know who we are, what we stand for, and that we have their back. We truly have their back. They have a seat at the table with us.
What's the next step for you guys? What's the vision? So I
Yeah.
know that it's, as somebody that's started a few different things,
Mhm.
we have this one idea of what we want, and then oftentimes it changes and shifts. And today, where is the vision?
Yeah, today the vision is just continue to grow on all aspects. The storefronts, we're looking to expand. We're looking to open up a new store early next year. Continue pushing the ball forward with that, and then also as well, just expanding on the retail side and getting in front of more people. The reason why with the retail stores too is because I was wishy-washy with that, like not wanting to move forward at times. Retail's hard, this and that, but I feel like our job isn't done. There's a lot of guys that have dedicated a lot of time to our companies, and I owe it to them to continue, leading the way. And I feel like we can make a huge impact, and we're just scratching the surface. Like, we're getting better every day at what we do. So it's like, okay, if we claim to be getting better, and we know that, then it's a disservice for me not to keep throwing the ball.
Yeah.
It's like we're up, a touchdown, and I'm trying to run the clock. Like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you gotta score again. You gotta run some pass plays and get down the field. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then again with AstroFlav, just trying to spread the brand awareness. Like, that's my biggest thing is we're confident in the products. Again, we get to leverage the fact that we have storefronts. So we see the end consumer every single day. We have to look them in the eyes. It's not like, hey, we can't just like send you an email and a return label. Like, no, people are coming back if they don't like the products, and they're
Right,
telling
right.
their frustrations. So yeah, that's like, again, that's an awesome advantage that I genuinely enjoy. I don't know if I answered the question, where we're going with everything. Yeah, just AstroFlav continue to grow, and then the shops continue to push the momentum, and the shops too are great because they get to introduce AstroFlav to people as well.
Sure.
It's not that
Yeah, I
it's
mean, we
not
have
that
a two-way marketing street, which is
yeah, it's not the only brand that we sell, and we're not going to push it on every single person to come in the door. But
right.
if we feel it's a category fit for the end consumer, then
Yep.
it's a good way to introduce them to the brand as well.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's a really big piece, and obviously a good business move too, because you're able to provide products to people um that you want to have them try and
Yeah,
use, because it's
yeah,
like, I really like this product, but no one's making it. Let me provide that for those certain people that I want to use.
hmm
Um, I find it always great whenever I know I go into a store and they have their house brand and you never talk about it. I think that's a really good store because you're fitting my needs, not your pocket.
hmm
So I think that's great, dude. Um, Obviously, been in business for quite some time. We've had a lot of success. I know we've had a lot of ups and downs,
hmm
as every business owner does. What was your biggest mistake as a business owner?
Um,
Not something we're often asked.
yeah, my biggest mistake, and this might sound like, I hope this doesn't come across wrong, is not trusting in myself, like not having confidence in myself at an early age, and like buying in. I was 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in for too long, for too many years in the beginning. And I'll explain what I mean by that is when I first opened up that retail store, my original storefront is 450 square feet. So if you can envision, the library behind me is bigger than the store.
Right.
Um, I could touch wall to wall basically. And I was embarrassed of it, like I was embarrassed to an extent. Like, I thought it was cool that I owned a store, but I was surrounded by these big conglomerate powerhouses, GNC, NutriShop at the time had like a bunch of stores by us, Vitamin Shop, bodybuilding.com. Did you hear they're selling on Amazon? Like, it was like everywhere you looked. And here I am, 450 square feet, little store. I had,
Below me.
yeah, I had shelving from Home Depot that I bought, closet shelving. That was my shelves. I was writing sales in a notepad. I didn't even have like a point of sale system on the windows. I had letter windowing that said Jersey Shore supplements because I couldn't afford a sign or an awning. It was just, hey, this was what it was. I turned the light on, turned the open sign on, and I just hoped. And fortunately, we were able to get people in the door. But yeah, it was it's the school of
Imposter
hard knocks.
syndrome gets us all sometimes, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. What was the original question? Because I started going off a little bit.
Biggest mistake.
Yeah, biggest mistake again was just not believing in myself enough. Again, having that 1 foot out the door. I was playing it too cool. Like that was my ego. Like thinking like, yeah, if it doesn't work out, well, I didn't even try. I didn't try my hardest. So, like if I tried, I could have made it work. It was one of those scenarios where to a T.
At what point did you, or can you remember that moment that you were like, I'm going to go all in?
Yeah, I remember. So there became a point in time where I started noticing like some traction. Like it was like, okay, some customers. It wasn't like I was getting like those little busy days, like little rushes, a couple of people in the store at the same time. Where, excuse me, it was really cool to see, and how we gained success and how I gained momentum to be able to do that was again treating people the right way. So it was compounding. So the word of mouth was starting to spread. Oh yeah, the guys at Jersey Shore Supplements, Brian, blah blah blah. Everybody would come in, they'd ask for Brian. Like it was this thing that we had there, even for a long time. And what I started noticing was we started advertising with some T-shirts and doing some T-shirt sales, and that was really what like kicked off the big rush. It just so happened to be the timing of it. But then you started seeing a lot of the JSS shirts in the gyms in your local area. Oh, what is that? Where is that place? And that's how we started picking up momentum.
How cool was it to see your first T-shirt in public?
Yeah, it's super cool. It's still cool to this day because I get pictures all the time of like people in the most random places like that you would never even think of. I'll give you a cool like I'll call it whatever manifesting moment where I was actually on vacation with my wife in Mexico, and we were walking on the beach holding hands, and a guy walked by me with a JSS hat on, and it gave me like chills. Yeah, customer Jamie of ours, and I ended up knowing who he was once we got back. I made a relationship with him, but yeah, it was one of those where like here I am, like just visualizing being on the beach, this and that, and then all of a sudden, like a guy in Mexico of all places walks by me with a JSS hat on. It was like it was one of those moments where you kind of like look around and you look up like in whatever you believe in, and it's just kind of like, yeah, I get it. Like I'm doing something. Like I'm meant to be here. I'm supposed to be doing this. It was really cool. But yeah, still to this day, when I see pictures of that, like there's some old vintage logo iterations that we've done, and when I see pictures, it still to this day brings a smile to my face. I mean, that's still my baby. Like that's how everything evolved. It started from that little retail store that I still have it to this day. It's actually right behind our warehouse that we have everything for AstroFlav in. We have an 8,000 square foot warehouse. Behind it is the 450 square foot store.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I guess best place would just be on Instagram, Brian Tweer. That's the easiest place. I'm not really on too many other socials. I'm on Twitter a little bit, but more so just to check up on the news. That's like my news outlet.
For sure.
But yeah, direct on the page. And then if anybody wants to follow the Jersey Shore Supplements or AstroFlav on Instagram, any questions, concerns, anything that you guys have, we'd love to help you out.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. One last question for you.
Yeah.
What is the biggest takeaway you want people to get from you?
Persistence and faith is a really powerful combination. Persistence and having faith in what you do and knowing in your heart it's the right move is the most powerful combination that you will ever need. You won't need anything more than that. There's no self-help book that's going to help you better than those words. Just have faith in the bigger picture and have the persistence to see it through.
I like that. Man. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on today, man. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I'm looking forward to continue your success and growing. And if there's anything I can ever do for anybody else listening, please don't feel afraid to reach out, man.
Cool. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you having me on. It was great.
Absolutely, man.
My biggest takeaway podcast.